Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Got a Guest. Now, before moving forward, I would like to talk about some of the suggestions and questions that you all sent across in the last video. They were very interesting questions, and I think we have interesting answers. So, one of you said that the host himself looks depressed. And because of that comment, my team made me shave my beard. So now I am beardless, depressed, and I look like the son of the devil, the brown son of the devil. So thank you so much for that. I mean, I owe you one, man. Why don't you talk about politics? See, I really want to talk about politics. I really do. But at this moment, my career is just too flimsy to survive a sedition charge. So I can't go to jail, and I'm not even pregnant for you all to care. So I'm gonna pass. Nope. Your take on Fair and Lovely. See, it's a very commonsensical thing. They've simply rebranded themselves. It's the same product. ट्यूब के अंदर में अभी भी वही है. It's the melanin suppressive thing that they have. It's like if you really want to like hurt Fair and Lovely and hurt the entire fairness mongering industry, just ban Photoshop and filters. If you just ban Photoshop and filters, those posters are not gonna be the same. Like सबको दिख जाएगा. Everyone will see that these models clearly have flaws and this cream does not do shit. However, it's a very good step towards ending discrimination. And I think everyone should play a part against discrimination. Like no one should be discriminated. Like just the other day, I saw these two Northeastern Indians, they were walking. I had a huge urge of shouting "A Momo," but I did not. I simply screamed "A Chinky Son" and I ran away. I'm working on it. It takes time, but I'm working on it. Moving ahead, today we're talking about the LGBTQ community, and we have a guest who would like to introduce herself because she's pretty sure I will fuck it up. Malavika, please go ahead.
My name is Malavika Markholkar. I am 22 years old. I live in Nagpur. I will soon start pursuing my master's degree in geopolitics and international relations at Manipal University. And I am bisexual. I am part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Cool. So that was pretty straightforward, but I'm sure I would have messed that up too. But anyways, talking about LGBTQ, the first question I want to ask you or that discuss this topic is of identity. See, identity for a lot of us who are heterosexuals is pretty straightforward. Like we know who we are and people address us as who we are. So how do you tackle the identity factor in the LGBTQ community?
So, of course, you only know your identity of what's been already told to you. So, according to society standards, a lot of us are we kind of grow up with the idea that we're supposed to be a certain way or we're supposed to do a certain kind of thing when we grow up in different communities. And that's cultural, it's societal, it's religious, it has different connotations. So the part of identity for the queer community in general is because from the start, from the beginning, they don't feel like they're supposed to fit into this binary, heterosexual box. And so they start questioning their feelings around puberty or even later in life in many cases. And that's where the part of identity comes in. They're like, wait a second, this is not the way I feel. This is not the way I want to be. And if this is what everyone else is doing and this is not what I want to do, then what am I? And so you question yourself. And even if you're not queer, you start questioning the ideas that have been passed down to you around the age of, around adolescence. When you start questioning things, when you start learning more about your environment, your parents, and you realize that they're not the perfect human beings that you idealized them to be, or society is not as completely as they told you it would be. And so, for queer people, questioning your own identity, your self identity is a part of that. And if you're taught around this time what queer is and what it means to different people, or what it is just basic general sex education, then you come out around this time. Otherwise, the process gets delayed until you have those, moments of self acceptance and come out.
Yeah, that
So
is a
that's what
very heavy.
I think, it's a very
Identity. it's kind of a very heavy burden to carry around with you. Like you have to actually act what you are not. Right. So I would like to know, what does it take to come out? Like, how do you come out and tell the world that, especially the world that is so much stigmatized and which has a lot of misconceptions and which is not very accepting of anything that is not the norm or that is not status quo. So what does it actually take to come out to someone, especially your parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very difficult. Even like, especially in cases where you know what the reaction of certain people is going to be. Like, my parents are clearly homophobic, so I still haven't come out to them because I know I will die if I do. Like, it's that severe. A lot of kids are in the same place in their home environments, in their work environments, kids, people, and the first thing that you deal with before coming out is your own internalized homophobia. So, there's this entire culture, Western and Eastern, that is based around the idea of rejection of anything that is non heteronormative. And because you fit into that non-heteronormative character, you have to take your own time and process and tell yourself that what you feel is valid, or the way that you love or the way that you want to project yourself to society is also valid. And that's the first, you yourself are against this entire thing for a long time because so much of homophobia has passed down to you. And so overcoming that is your first step to coming out, a fight with yourself. And then when you accept it, they're like, okay, this is what I am, this is what the kind of label that I'm comfortable with, this is what I feel like. Then begins the process of actually coming out, talking to parents, sometimes talking to teachers, talking to your friends. And that process is pretty brutal. You lose friends, you lose family because of who you are.
So it is actually very interesting you talk about society and what it takes to come out. I would like to know your experience, and of course, if you know if anyone else's, that how do you tackle society, especially the religious part of it? Because I think all religions gel very well over hatred for the LGBTQ community. That's the one binding factor that all of them have. So how do you wade around society, especially religion?
Well, I mean, I think that the whole point of our religion is supposed to be peace and finding love and finding a greater connection to something that is not human, or a bigger cosmic entity. And so, no matter what religion you're from, if you actually practice it, if you actually practice what it preaches, then it really doesn't make sense to include homophobia. Especially, like, I'm a practicing Hindu, and there is nothing in any Hindu text that actually says that you should hate people who are homosexual or part of the queer community. But there are passages in the Bible, there are passages in hadiths or the
Quran,
Quran
yeah,
that
yeah,
state that.
definitely, definitely.
And part of that is why so many people refuse to come out, actually. And they get married to people of the opposite gender despite not feeling that way, and they just
Mhm.
suffer without coming out, without even realizing that they could have had such a better life and come out as queer, because they don't have access to that kind of information in the first place a lot of the times. And even when they do, they hide it, because how else are they going to deal with society? you know uh,
Mhm.
when you, even in my generation, our generation, in where people are a little cooler with the entire concept and they're more accepted, and me coming out as bisexual, it, I have lost friends, I've lost classmates like crazy. I've actually been bullied for my sexuality, and this was a time before I was out. I didn't even know I was queer back then. And I think a lot of kids face that, and a lot of queer kids actually flourish after high school, because a lot of them are bullied during this time, the time where they're struggling with their identity, stuff like that. Because there is this notion that if you act feminine, you're gay, or if
Mhm.
as a woman you act masculine, you're gay, or things like that. That kind of just that kind of internalized homophobia, what I was talking about, and that kind of unacceptance of that is something you deal with on a daily basis, inside and outside yourself, because these are ideas that you've heard and kind of absorbed over the years. So even as a queer person, you have internalized homophobia. There are parts of yourself that you are not entirely comfortable with, and so the coming out process can take years before you're actually completely out.
Yeah, so
I was the anomaly. I understood I was queer and immediately came out a week later. I was the anomaly.
it's good for you. I'm happy for you. So just a question that you talk about identifying what you are comfortable with. So what would you say to a person like who's watching this currently and who might be a young teen or who might be in his late 30s, that what do you what do you suggest and what do you advise him, that how does he come out and how does he deal with this issue that my identity is not what I am told to believe? How does someone
Yeah.
come out?
Well, I think it's a very unique and individual process because whether you're trans, non-binary, whether you're queer, whether it's a sexuality or a gender identity, anything that is outside of the norm is very scary uh, for you to accept, especially if it's about you. So the first thing that I want to say to queer people who are in the closet or who are trying to, come out or whatever, even people who don't, they might be queer, that whatever process that you're in right now is valid. You are valid. Whatever labels you want to use, whatever pronouns you want to use, whatever way you want to live is valid. And if there are people who don't support that, they aren't right. You are. This is the way you are. This is not something you can change about yourself. And trying to change that about yourself will stigmatize you, will hurt you, will hurt your mental health, will hurt even your physical health a lot of times. And so, it's very important for you to accept yourself and for you to build a community that accepts you. Keep the friends that love you for who you are, keep the family that loves you for who you are, and get rid of the rest, no matter how difficult it might be in the long run, because this is your life, it's not theirs.
Yeah, so accepting like the acceptance of your identity, it has something to do with your peers, with your relatives, with your family as well. Like their support matters a lot. So like
Their support does matter.
yeah, so
Because,
how?
I mean, sorry, yeah,
Oh yeah,
please
please
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Your answer is more important than my question.
No, I mean, I was actually supported by a lot of my peers, despite the things that I went through.
Hmm.
And although my homophobic parents aside, a lot of my family has also been very supportive. So I can talk to my brother about not getting a girlfriend in Nagpur, or I can talk to my friends about the struggles of being openly bi and things like that, and they will accept it and they will support me. When I go on dates and things like that, I always have a cover from my friends.
Hmm.
And so I think that is very important because these are major life decisions. Who you end up with, who you date, who you marry, it's part of who you are. Not marry, well, we don't have marriage laws, unfortunately, but who you live with, let's go with that. Uh, so these are very important parts of your life. This is an entire aspect of your life. This is how you deal with other people. And a lot of the time there is a transition period involved for trans people, for non-binary people. They are trying to they struggle with dysmorphia and so many other things every day, and so many people of the queer community have mental health issues, and so because of their identity or because of the way they've been treated because of their identity, a lot of that. So it's very important to have people who will look at you, or who will say, like, what, I've been there, or even if I haven't been there, I know what you're feeling like, and I love you and I accept you for who you are, and I'm going to support you no matter what. And
Yeah,
there are very few people who will go out of their way to support you. So every ally, every person who's openly like, what, I'm not gay but I love my gay friends, is very important. Very important.
yeah, a little empathy goes a long way. It's true.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Malvi, for coming over. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's early, but this is just how we live
Yeah.
now.
I
And thank
wanted to correct my sleep cycle anyway, so this is a good chance.
thank you so much again for coming, Malvi. It's great to meet you. Right.
All right.
Bye bye.